Hello and welcome to Comm-Link, your YouTube source for comic reviews. I am 208 and I am your host. First off, I'd like to say thank you so much for joining us on our very first episode, and to capture our audiences, we're going to review something very big, and that is Amazing Spider-Man number 700. A lot of big stuff in this book. But wait, I shouldn't tell you, I should save that for the review. So, the way I grade comics is I divide it into two parts, story/writing and artwork. So in my mind, I'll give it a rating between 1 and 10 each parts, sum it all up, take the average, and I give it one big rating, and that is the rating I give the comic. So, without further ado, the first episode of Comm-Link. Alright, so let's dive right in. Amazing Spider-Man number 700. Easily one of the biggest comics of 2012, the end of an era. 50 years going on, finally to end at number 700. Such a great number to end on, and boy, what an ending. Now, the rest of this is going to have some spoiler alerts. You might want to skip to a disclosed number. I'll put the link down below. So, spoiler alert starts now. So, Spider-Man has just discovered that from 698 and 699, he's been brainwave swapped by Dr. Octopus, and he's in Dr. Octopus's body while Dr. Octopus's brain is in Peter Parker's body, brainwaves that is. Peter Parker's in Dr. Octopus's body and he's dying. His guts are just killing him because they're about to break down. He's in life support, so he's got to hurry up and get the hell out of it. So Peter wakes up and he's like, I can't let this happen. So he is going through Dr. Octopus's mind like, alright, let's see what it's Dr. Octopus. You've got to have a way to escape this giant prison. He calls up some bad guys and is like, hey, it's Dr. Octopus. Let's do my escape plan that I've planned and hid in my mind so I can escape. So the villains come, they get him out, and they repair him. And then when they repair him, they try to put his arms back on, and Peter's like, no, that's not part of the plan, but they do it anyway, and they shock him, and he goes to some afterlife sort of place where he sees people that have died from way back early in the Amazing Spider-Man history. Like, the kid Tim, I think he died in an episode that was in the number 100s. What the hell? And he sees Gwen Stacy, Captain Stacy, his parents, and then he sees his Uncle Ben, and Uncle Ben's like, yo, you can't be here, you don't belong here, and all that sad stuff. So he goes off. So he goes back to his normal body, wakes up, and he's got his arms now, so he's ready to, take on the world. So he continues his escape plan, and he finds Doc Ock in Peter Parker's body, and they're fighting and all this stuff, and then he's acting like a little different because he's got a little bit of Doc Ock in him, and then you see Doc Ock in Peter Parker's body starting to feel a little bit of Peter Parker in him, like he's starting to have like small flashbacks, and then they battle, and in Peter Parker's body is punching people, and he's like, whoa, I didn't know that Peter was this strong, and Peter was like, whoa, I didn't even know I'm this strong. And long story short, they're fighting, and then he could feel his insides going. He's like, oh, my liver just failed, oh, I'm blind in one eye. At the last moments, he grabs Doc Ock in Peter Parker's body and is like, if I'm going down, you're going down with me, and they jump off the top of the Avengers building. In mid-air, Peter Parker in Doc Ock's body sees Doc Ock in Peter Parker's body spin web on the ground, and he's like, we're too high to do a trampoline, we're gonna die anyway. But then he sees Doc Ock do this sort of like cushiony thing, and is like, oh, I see what you're doing. You're doing like an airbag, like what stunt people do. And he's like, why didn't I think of that? Holy shoot, this guy is smart. So they hit the ground, but since Doc Ock's body is so frail, his spine cracks, and Peter Parker's like, oh no, I have failed. And then Doc Ock is about to kill him. Finally, he's like, now your life is mine. Mwahaha. Oh my god, what am I seeing in my mind? I'm seeing all of Peter Parker's memories because I did this brain swap thing. And so he starts to get all his memories, and in doing so, he changes, because it's as if he experienced everything that Peter Parker has been doing. And then he gets on his knees next to Peter Parker in Doc Ock's body saying, oh my gosh, how do you do this? Your life is so hard, you sacrifice so much. He's like, I don't think I can do this. And then Peter Parker's like, well, you know, too bad, you have to. Because with great power comes with great responsibility. And he's there, and Doc Ock is like, oh gosh, this is gonna be so crazy, whatever. And Peter Parker's like, take care of them. Take care of my young man. And Doc Ock is like, yeah, I promise, and he dies. So, Peter Parker's brain waves dies in Doc Ock's body. Doc Ock is there like, oh, no, I have to do this. With great power comes great responsibility. I'm going to be a stronger, smarter, superior Spider-Man than you have ever been, Peter Parker. I'll be a better Spider-Man, and I'll be the superior Spider-Man. What's up? And that's the story. What do I think of the story? How do I rate this? Spider-Man is such a great character because he's a hero, but he's a spider, and everyone's afraid of spiders. Well, I wouldn't say everyone, but let's face it, spiders are pretty damn scary. And Peter Parker, he's this great guy. Began as a nerd, no one liked him, and then got these powers, and he abused them, and then someone got, killed for it, and he vowed never to let that happen again. So smart. We all grew up with Spider-Man. Whenever someone talks about superheroes, Superman or Batman is usually the first DC characters, but I don't know who would be the first Marvel characters, but Spider-Man has got to be one of the first ones you think of. I grew up with Spider-Man. All of us grew up with Spider-Man. Stan Lee, such a smart guy. So, what do I think of this story? Personally, just personally, I think Marvel could have done such a better job than killing off Peter like that. Peter deserves much more than dying in one of his arch enemies' body, alone, with none of his family there. I mean, yes, that could be symbolic, like that's how a superhero dies. He must die alone in order to save the people. But seriously, you couldn't even have died with Aunt May there to be with him, not even Mary Jane, and then so you got Doc Ock living in his body, kissing Mary Jane, like the dude's 90, and he's kissing this 22-year-old. It's unreal for the fact that Marvel could kill off a superhero as iconic as Peter Parker like that. That just makes me so sad. I just can't wrap my head around it. Now, Robotic Newt isn't here to tell you, but she, my girlfriend, really, really likes the ending, because her reasoning is, through Peter's death, it changed Doc Ock and the way he sees life. Almost like Peter sacrificed himself to make Doc Ock, one of his biggest arch enemies, into a better person. And yes, I can see that. That's why it's not gonna get such a horrible score, because that's pretty cool. But no. Peter should not die. Peter's such a good guy. Deserves more. And yes, people are gonna reprimand me for that over YouTube, maybe comments, I don't know. But this is what I think about them. Now for the artwork. As you can see, Amazing Spider-Man's artist Humberto Ramos does a really cool cartoony job of portraying Amazing Spider-Man. As you can see from this panel, Amazing Spider-Man is like very slender but still looking muscular. So it gives him that very agile, sneaky, but very bulky guy. And for that, I really like what he did, even though it's not too realistic like looking. It still gives a cool comic book feeling that really fits Spider-Man. So, to wrap it all up, I give this book a final score of a 6.5 because the writing is awesome, the story not too awesome. I would like to see Peter Parker die a hero's death. That's not really a hero, I mean like, I will get shit for that, but, you know, the good guy doesn't always have to die like that. And it's a comic. Odds are he's gonna come back, but man, Peter deserved way more. The artwork, I love the artwork. I mean, look at that cover. That is so badass. Dang, that is an awesome cover. So yeah, 6.5 I give this rating. But the rest of the Spider-Man books, please check those out. I mean, as a series, man, Spider-Man is awesome. So please check out the other books. Definitely pick this up if you can find it anymore. I know it's been a week. But yeah, thank you so much for joining us on the first episode of Comm-Link. Hopefully the first of many. Please be sure to subscribe and always check for updates because I don't have a schedule of when I'll be uploading. It's whenever I decide to dish them out and when I have time. I'd like to give a big shout out to Two Comic Nerds, the channel. Subscribe to them too. They do comic reviews as well. They in fact inspired me to start doing this because, you know, I like comics too. So why not go and talk about it where my opinions will be heard on YouTube. It's not really you should care about it, but I like to do it, you know. If someone wants to get started in comics or they don't know how, or they don't know if they should play a video game, or they should know if they should buy a board game, someone will be there to talk about it. Also, a big shout out to the pull list. I want to know, I'll be reading there with you and hopefully do some video responses, whatever that is. But yes, check those two channels out, subscribe to them, subscribe to me, and always remember folks, history prefers legends to men. I'm your host 208, and thanks for tuning in on this episode, the first episode of Comm-Link.